everybody, you're listening to episode 233 of Tech Fetish. I am your host, Elena He, and here with me today are Justin Davis.
Hello.
And Mark Ryan Salee.
What's up, guys? High five.
Cool. Yeah.
High five.
Oh, double.
Yeah.
Your hands don't have...
I know, I don't have the reach on this side. That was the lamest high five.
Well, I was worried about the germs.
Oh, that's true. I'm
Were
sorry.
you?
Do you have germy hands?
Probably.
Oh, don't lick. Gross. She just licked her palm. Or you pretended to.
I pretended to. That's a little too gross for me.
Why is, palm licking such a... There's always, the weird kid in your elementary school that licked his palms.
Is that true?
Yeah.
I don't remember this
I mean,
person.
that's a stereotype, right?
I don't know.
I
Is
don't
it?
know, where
Really?
it comes from.
Was there? No, I don't remember that in my school.
You went to school in Iowa.
That's true.
So it's probably different. It's probably different there.
Bunch of palm lickers there.
Yeah.
Is that like some secret handshake?
I hope not. No, I just thought that was a thing. There's always the weird kid or the weird...
The kid that eats paste.
Yeah, there's the kid that licks his palms, and then there's the boy that pulls his pants down all the way to go to the bathroom at the urinal.
Mm-hmm. There's a stinky kid.
Yeah, there's the kid that smells bad.
Right. And you hope you're not that person you don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's because I'm a girl. I was just an oblivious kid. I don't feel like I know any of these
Really?
archetypes.
Oh,
I mean, it's not normal
to
pull your pants down all the way at the urinal. That's what makes the kid the weird kid.
Sure.
What's normal? I mean, okay, again, you have to educate
You just
me.
leave your
What's
pants
normal?
up. You leave your pants up.
Oh, but don't you ever worry about splashing or anything?
No.
I mean, there are degrees of down, okay? And there's ankle down. You don't need to do that.
Yeah.
So it's knees?
Sure.
No.
Thigh. Upper
Knees?
thigh is probably enough.
Not knees.
I'm saying that's an option.
Yeah.
If ankles is an option, knees is an option.
Mine don't come down at all.
Oh, okay.
I'm really trying hard not to picture that. Just for the sake of not picturing it.
I think you got to use the buttocks as kind of a shelf to hold it up.
Exactly. In elementary school, we also used to have contests to see who could stand the farthest back from the urinal and still pee into the urinal. I'm sure the janitors hated that. If we were
terrible.
If me and some of my friends were going to the bathroom, we would try to take little steps backwards to see who could get the farthest away.
Oh man. Well, it's elementary school, you said?
Yeah.
Well, I think at that age, probably the janitors just assumed you guys couldn't aim, so I guess it's okay.
Sure. Well, there's some adults in this building that still seem to not be able to aim.
This is true. I imagine eventually we're going to have to talk about tech on this podcast.
That's true.
But another thing came up with me recently that I was curious if other people have opinions about this. We use toothpaste at home.
We do.
Okay. You use toothpaste as well?
Yes, it's a thing.
Okay. And between me and my wife, we use the toothpaste tube differently.
This sounds
People that squeeze the tube from the center creep me out. What is...
Oh, my wife does that, and it drives me crazy.
And
I actually had to give up. I didn't want to be... It's such a stereotype to fight about how you squeeze the toothpaste tube. But it happened in my house. It's why don't you just squeeze it from the bottom? She's I just don't. Why is it a big deal? And I'm because then every day I have to get the toothpaste out of the tube. And she's the perfect woman. 99% of our fights are my fault. 100%. And then afterwards I'm yeah, man, that was me. That was all on me. But this one time, she's just inexplicably in the wrong, just obviously.
Can't you fix that with a simple binder clip at the end or something?
I mean, I don't know.
That just kind of overrides the whole thing.
We could also fix it by her just squeezing it from the bottom, so she's not a barbarian, squeezing it from the top of the tube.
It's crazy. I have a technique where I take the toothpaste tube, I put it against the wall, and I use the backside of my toothbrush to squeegee it all into place so that the backside
I run it along the corner.
It's perfect. You just have the back half of the tube is just completely empty, and it's the best thing ever.
It's the best.
And then
I don't think I've ever gone to that extreme.
You should try it.
I'll press it so that it's flat, but I don't think I've actually done
You've used
rubbing
tools.
it on the edge. Yeah, rubbing it on the edge of a corner or something to actually make sure every single bit is out.
It makes it pretty good.
I rub it on the corner of the counter.
Okay.
Wow.
Another thing my wife does. This is dangerous. This is the last one.
This is marriage.
This is the last one.
I'm not going to say
this is
fetish.
real life. She marriage fetish. She won't eat the last bite of anything.
Oh, this came up recently on our side of the office, actually.
Is that true?
Yeah.
But she denies it.
Oh, okay.
She's no, I'm just full. And I'm like, what a coincidence that for the 10 years I've known you, you always get full right when there's like one bite left.
Of her individual meal.
I mean, but it happens like across the board. So it's her, like she'll leave like the last bite of her sandwich or burger or pasta or whatever. Like she'll always leave that. But also like we'll have like 3 jars of salsa that have like a little bit of salsa left in them because then she won't finish it. Mm-hmm. And we have like 3 jars of ranch dressing that bottles of ranch dressing that are all like 9/10 empty.
Right.
That's my entire life. I fished out like 4 pickle jars that all had like 2 little pickle slices in them. I'm like, just finish something. She doesn't ever finish things. So God bless her heart.
So Kevin in engineering. Now this is turning into a podcast about what happened on my side of the office. But Kevin in engineering brought in some I don't know, like peanut brittle or something that he made from home.
Sure.
Brought it in. There was a little bit left. I broke it in half and like ate it. And then Jim gave me crap about it. He's like, just take the whole thing. I'm like, I don't want to be the guy that takes the last of it.
That's different. In a communal setting.
You think that's different?
In a communal setting, no one ever wants to take like the last Rice Krispie treat or the last slice of cake. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's psychology that I can at least like kind of understand or rationalize.
Well, I mean, it could be that, but still so ingrained that you end up applying it to your own stuff.
Sure.
Where you don't actually want to finish it.
See, I think in my relationship, I'm more like your wife in that I will often get to the last bite, and Mariel, it drives her nuts. She's like, just eat it. I'm like, nah, I think I'm done. Like, you can't. No, you have to eat it.
Oh, you are just like her.
I'm just done.
Maybe I should hang out with your wife. I'm sorry, that was inappropriate.
I'm staying out of that one. So technology.
Yeah.
I don't think have I ever met her at a holiday party or anything.
Probably. We went and saw Mad Max last night.
Cool.
With people from...
Oh, I was like, what? No, all
Not with you.
That's the key part that you're missing is that you're
with other people.
Yeah.
So, technology. It's been a couple of weeks.
I know. Has anything happened? Technology doesn't move that fast. So.
No, of course not.
It's just slowing down, if anything.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I'm actually going to start this week with a reader question. Kevin wrote into us at Tech Fetish at IGN.com.
Hey, Kevin.
And longtime listener, always has really great questions, but I like this one in particular. And he asked, what near future technology can you not wait for? And by that he meant, self-driving cars or anything of that kind of sort, where maybe not immediately coming, but sometime in our future that we can foresee. Mm-hmm. He also added this throwback, and he said, just kidding, but I thought it was interesting because you guys go far back, and you guys probably can actually provide some context to me on this. And he says, as a callback to the Jerry Block and Scott Lowe times, maybe someone should bring up the topic of sex robots.
Maybe.
That predates me, man.
Maybe.
That sounds like a thing.
I don't remember talking about those. But
I've actually never met Jerry Block in person, but based on what I know about him, he sounds like a sex robot kind of guy.
Sure. He's the sort of person that would have no problem talking about sex robots, for sure.
Sure.
I don't know if he has any.
Or using a sex robot.
I wouldn't suspect that he has them, but...
Hey, Jerry. You guys saw the...
Are you talking about Future Tech?
The Kickstarter. It wasn't a Kickstarter, but a crowdfunding campaign for the thing that stores the kinetic energy from masturbating to charge electronics.
We talked about this before,
that.
That's what you can't wait for?
That's not my near future.
So for,
that's not my near
for
future
people
tech.
who are only listening, that was Justin shrugging.
Yeah, no, I shrugged. That's true. This is radio. That's not the near future tech I'm looking forward to. That's just sex robots jogged my memory. Okay. It's like harnessing for the good of
So you think
mankind.
that maybe a robot can be like just infinite energy?
It's like when the apocalypse happens and we're all running off of our Tesla batteries in our house. We only get, power from the grid 1 hour a day. It'll be like, Billy, we need you to go spend some personal time in your room. We're almost out of power for the night. You got to charge up those batteries again.
So embarrassing.
They certainly won't be riding like a bike, stationary bike or anything like that to generate electricity. Just nonstop masturbating.
I don't know if it'll work that well, but maybe that's our future.
I think it's a Philip K. Dick book where they have to generate all their power each day by being on a stationary bike.
Is that so? Do you want to answer Kevin's question for real?
Now you can go.
Come on. I have a number of answers. I'm trying to think
know,
of what
right?
my top is. Like VR is obvious. Like I'm excited about that becoming one, not just Oculus coming to market, which I think they announced a release window of the beginning of next year.
The world's biggest
2016
window.
Q1.
Q1 2016. So 3-month window. But not just that release, but like I'm looking forward to its realization of like my hopes and dreams of what it could be.
Yeah.
A replacement for real life, because real life sucks.
It's just the worst.
I like real life. Real life's cool.
I don't know. I mean, food. I mean, doesn't everybody love food?
Food's pretty good. Yeah, I don't think VR food's ever going to be that good.
It's a really hard question to answer when you opened it up to things like self-driving cars, which are probably decades away from like the tech exists today, but being a thing that people can practically take advantage of day to day. Because it's like, where do you even start? Like NASA's supposedly working on a warp drive. That's pretty freaking dope.
That's pretty dope.
SpaceX is getting close to you having a reusable rocket that'll make it much, much cheaper to ferry goods and people to and from space. That's pretty freaking dope.
I still don't want to go to space.
But like I personally don't want to go, but I feel like that would benefit the world and humanity, in myriad ways.
Yeah, I feel like if I don't get to do it though, I don't really care.
There's like little things like there's this board game called Golem Arcana that's like a hybrid digital physical board game. So it's a physical board game. You set it up and you have these figurines and they fight, but then you have this pen that you can like tap on, a piece of terrain or on a unit, and then it uses like an iPad is also sitting there with you, and it can bring up stats or other elements. Like the game is tracked digitally as well. So
kind of like an AR kind of situation.
Yeah, not AR, but you have this digital, like dice rolls can happen digitally, and things like there can be like a hidden unit, like an invisible unit, and like the game is able to track where it is, but then it doesn't have to be on the board. As a tabletop role player, like just this combination of digital and physical is interesting to me from a video gaming standpoint.
So by future tech, you mean like October tech?
Yeah, I mean that exists today, but it's like really young, right? Like,
sure.
There's a lot more opportunity there for cool shit to happen. I was always really intrigued. Many years ago, Nintendo had their card reader. Do you remember this?
The card? Oh yeah, yeah.
For the Game Boy
was
Advance.
It the e-card?
Yeah, the e-card reader. And they made a physical card game. Nintendo made a card game for 2 people that you could buy. But then in these moments, there would be like clashes and face-offs, and then you would swipe the card, and then you would settle it with a minigame on your television using the GameCube, using the card reader. And I just thought that was so cool. That was the earliest example I can ever think of a combination. Like you're playing a game with someone face-to-face in real life, but then, okay, let's play this sort of Mario Party-style minigame to settle, to settle some tiebreakers, settle something. And
then you steal some kid's money.
Then you steal some kid's money.
Yeah.
Because, of course, that's what you do.
And there's a lot of room for more
kids.
stuff like that as someone that's really has one foot in the world of physical analog and digital games.
Okay.
That's not like the thing I'm most excited about. I don't know why that popped into my head. It popped into my head because I'm trying to think of like what's the biggest, like it's a hard question to answer because it's like warp drives or this little tiny piece of tech.
Yeah. How about you, Elena?
I don't know. I think I'm not feeling very imaginative today. But I really like what I've seen so far of augmented reality.
More so than VR?
Yeah. It's super funny because, the internet will say whatever it wants, obviously. But based on my past work history, there were some people who made assumptions that the reason why I was so, gung-ho about seeing HoloLens back in January was because of that, as opposed to the fact that VR still makes me incredibly sick. So
right.
I've tried different VR headsets. I've done hands-on with Gear VR for S6, Oculus DK2, Crescent Bay. And even though it's improving, there's just something about it, about not having that very physical sense of what's happening connected to what I'm seeing. It makes my stomach just rebel.
Sure.
Whereas,
but as we know from The Matrix, it'll be the reverse where you'll be so used to the virtual world that when you re-enter the real world, you will vomit and it'll be gross and white.
I'm not sure that like any genuine sentence has ever begun, but as we know from The Matrix, just silly jokes and jokes.
Just, yeah. The first Matrix, the only true Matrix.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know what? I actually haven't seen the second or third ones.
Yeah.
Oh, good on you.
Because I had friends who came back from them just it looked like their world had been just shattered.
There is no need.
The second one's okay. Third one's genuinely bad.
Okay. I still don't feel like I'm missing out.
No.
So anything other than augmented reality?
I think some of the space stuff has been interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know what its application is. I'm actually, this is, I guess, super kind of random in a way. It's not something we talk about a lot on the podcast, at least, but I'm actually super excited for things like nanotechnology. So all the injectables we've talked about, but in terms of medical application.
Nanomachines.
Yeah, so being able to
Fox dye.
Yeah.
basically inject these tiny bits of tech into your body, but then it can give you all this information, give surgeons all this information that they need. I currently have family members who are, battling some, medical conditions right now. So on a personal level, I find that really, I guess, not hopeful, but it makes me hope that it can actually lead to better detection and even better surgeries and procedures down the road. So I'm not very imaginative about it because I don't have a medical background, but I look at it and I hope for things out of it.
Yeah, a similar vein I was thinking too, just this is not very specific, but any of the technologies that are going to lead to longer and longer lifespans is going to be interesting, not just to see because, people will live 150, 200 years or whatever, but it'll be interesting to see how society changes when that becomes a norm.
It's just going to be more country kitchen buffets everywhere.
Do you think people are still going to have Social Security that kicks in at 66 when their lifespan is 150?
Sure, that's actually it's weird that that's the specific example you brought up, because that's a huge portion of the problem with Social Security was it was created under the belief that the government would only have to take care of you for 10 years, 20 years. But now, the more and more the average lifespan increases, the more and more of a burden things like Social Security become.
Yeah. So that's going to be interesting for sure.
I just assume that the young people are going to get hosed.
Sure. In the short term.
Well,
but then we become the old people, and it's our turn to keep everybody down.
I sometimes wonder, they kind of brought this up in Star Trek, right? Where, was it, McCoy lived to 150 or something like that?
I will have to take your word for it.
So, he appeared on Next Generation. And he's super frail in that, right? And the way that they imagined it was that the human body still keeps aging at the rate it would.
Mm-hmm.
So I almost wonder, if you were to live to 150, would you even have much of your original body left?
Mm-hmm.
Would it all have to be regenerated? Because the
Probably.
human body was just never designed to last that long.
Mm-hmm.
Even people in their 80s already, if you fall, that can already pretty much end things sometimes. You just go into decline.
Yep. Yeah, so that'll be interesting to see how that just changes everything. Changes our perceptions about, how long you're supposed to work or what we do for work. Similar interest in seeing how technologies continue to phase out certain professions that we're used to being professions.
Mm-hmm.
Go back, 100 years ago, a significant portion of, the population's work productivity was for producing food.
Yeah.
Now we don't have to worry about that so much. Food production's handled by machines for a lot of it, so that it's a much smaller portion. So we end up finding different professions, basically.
The podcast Planet Money is doing a series on this right now about how robotics and automation are phasing out jobs in America, and the stuff that's easy for robots or other automated processes to do, and the things that are hard. And it's pretty interesting because some of the stuff that you think about as low skilled labor is actually really, really hard for robots to do. There's this lab in some California university, I don't remember which one, that's trying to teach a robot to fold laundry. But it's actually incredibly complex because it can't look at a big pile of laundry and recognize where the corners of a towel are, for example. So it's trying to do this thing where it scans it from multiple angles, and so then create a 3D model to try to figure out where the corners of this towel are. But that's something that literally a toddler can do.
Well,
but then there's other stuff.
Let's be clear. I've been trying to fold laundry for 32 years.
Yeah,
I'm still very.
We're not talking about fitted sheets here, which are the devil's sheets,
yes,
and are impossible to fold.
YouTube has all the answers for that, by the way.
I've tried it. It doesn't work. At least not for me.
I don't know. The Japanese have some crazy awesome folding techniques.
And
I'll have to look
toilets.
into it.
Their toilets are just scary.
They're aggressive.
All those
I'll give you that.
buttons. Too much.
The irony about this tech is that things that you learn to do when you're very little, it's actually harder for a robot to replicate. But then things that you learn to do as an adult, like higher processes, are actually much, much easier. So
that's
things like
interesting.
advanced mathematics or anything like that is incredibly simple. But then like looking at a photo and saying, that's a bird. Like my kid can do that, but like a computer can't do that.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So in the future, computers are going to do all our research and engineering and everything for us, and we're just going to fold the laundry.
I don't know. I don't have it all figured out. I just thought it was
Sure.
a fascinating thing.
It would be just interesting, though, if that's what the future ends up being.
Robots write simple stories now for the AP and for some newspapers.
Really?
Yeah, they write financial reports, and they write they'll write a recap of like a baseball game. Like the Padres defeated the so and so in extra innings 9-3. So and so hit, called the player of the match, and blah blah blah. Like a human doesn't need to do that, and robots just do it now.
Interesting.
That's pretty cool.
And the example that they gave was the Denny's quarterly results. Like they were just reported by a robot. They beat Wall Street expectations by blah blah blah.
I wonder if they run that through a human editor still, or if they actually just go straight from the robot to press.
They probably do.
Because then that way it smooths out any weirdness or...
Yeah, but the human editor probably barely does their job.
Speaking from experience.
What?
Oh, burn. Anyway, it's interesting you bring up the whole AI thing because there's not really super related, but still sort of tangentially related. I'm not even sure if I'm using words right anymore. It's Friday and I'm sick, guys. There is a news story that there is basically, what's it called? I think the headline was the world's angriest artificial intelligence is being developed.
The world's angriest.
I don't have
Yes.
any problem with that. What could possibly go wrong?
Right? What
What-
could
what's the-
possibly go absolutely not at all wrong with that?
What is the... So here's what I want to know. What is it up against? Like, what other angry AIs have you encountered?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where the headline is maybe a little... Because it's like, what's the second most angriest? Watson?
Siri.
Siri's pretty passive aggressive.
Yeah.
That's not. Is that really anger? If it's passive aggressive,
Yeah.
can you still count it as that?
Yes.
I
Oh,
think so.
Okay. So anyway, there's a group out in New Zealand who is trying to teach AI to actually emote anger, and it's for the purpose of teaching customer service representatives, better ways to deal with irate customers. But I read this, and like Justin, I kept thinking, one, given all the warnings about AI and, smart AI, is this
Sure.
really what we want them to learn? And two, more importantly, wouldn't it be more effective to teach AI to recognize anger as opposed to emote it? Because there are plenty of times when I've called in to some automated phone system and I say, agent, customer agent, and it won't recognize it.
Sure.
And then I get upset.
Right.
It should know if you're
Yeah.
making a swear.
So
Yeah.
like, if even
Connect me to an effing agent. And then it's like, ooh.
So like even
She's
if like
upset.
the words agent or operator are not programmed for the system, it should recognize, oh, this person is pissed. I'm going to
Get them to a human being.
Yes.
Yes. I feel like to a degree that's already creeping in because there have been times when I've dropped an F-bomb or raised my voice that suddenly I magically get that agent. But it's not universal and it's not as often as I would like.
They've rigged up a system of cameras to record people's faces when they're talking, and they had like a virtual therapist. Like, tell me about the most embarrassing moment of your life. Tell me about this. And based on people's facial expressions and just, physical tells on their face and in their voice, they're able to do things like diagnose depression and, PTSD and stuff like that.
whoa.
What's the
You know.
accuracy rate?
I don't know. I mean, I think I'm only half remembering like the story now, but I think it was as accurate or more accurate than, an actual licensed therapist. Because the research shows that people that are clinically depressed, for example, actually smile just as much as people that aren't, but it's like a fake smile. Like it's not like it's not like your soul is smiling. And that shows through in like sometimes subconscious ways on your face that a therapist may not notice, or they're just not paying close enough attention at that moment to really pick up on some of that does get picked up by an algorithm.
Interesting. I wonder if this angry AI could be used by people, like not just for customer service training, but say I'm a really bad manager.
Yeah.
Right. I can then program this AI to go out and get angry at people for me.
Yeah. Be a jerk to the customers today. I'm in a bad mood.
It doesn't have to be the customer, right? It could be
your subordinates.
Well,
right. If you're a jerk manager, but you're like a passive aggressive jerk manager.
I was gonna say if you're a bad manager type that would want to scream at your underlings, I don't think you need AI to do that for you. I think you would just do it.
Sure.
Yeah. The thing that strikes me about this is it actually sounds like it's being made for fairly cheap. It's 500,000 Australian dollars, which, I don't know what that is in American dollars, but
roughly the same.
In the range of, hundreds of thousands of dollars, which to create an AI seems inexpensive.
Sure.
But then it's also like kind of a lot to the point where, okay, for that much money you could pay, because the whole point is to simulate angry interactions with customers to train customer service representatives. And it's like, couldn't you just pay a dozen people to
to be angry?
To be angry and role play those situations, and
right.
You're probably going to get better results and not have to do, however much research you're going to have to do.
I don't know, maybe.
It might have to do with scale, right? So if you have multiple call centers or multiple locations or large teams, you can only, I think, effectively train them with actual actors at a certain amount of, like, in certain size groups, right?
Yeah.
Whereas if you had a single AI that you could just put on a computer, that means you could train all of those people at the same time without having to worry about scale.
Yeah, I suppose you're right. My way is fairly short-sighted in the sense that if you do manage to figure it out, even if it's more work up front, you then can't deploy it across thousands of.
Maybe as a stunt to prove how awesome humans are, we can pull together a bunch of money, hire like someone like Tom Cruise. All right. We want him to train someone in customer service, and then at the end, against the robot, the robot trains somebody else. Yeah, and at the end, there's a customer service competition, and humans will win.
Yeah, they should pull together like the angriest, like what's his name in Clear and Present Danger, where he's like, you can't handle the truth. Like, take that moment and take the Howard Dean scream.
Oh, yeah.
And take, like, all these weird, uncomfortable, angry moments. And
no wire hangers?
Into one, like, super anger.
Oh, that's a good one. I wasn't expecting that reference to come up today.
Which one?
I don't even know what it's from.
I think it's Joan Crawford.
Sure, maybe.
Yeah, I think it was, it's a movie based, it's supposed to be, I think, a biography of her life as recounted by her daughter, I think. And there's just this scene where apparently she was very controlling, and there's this scene where she freaks out on her daughter about using wire coat hangers instead of, like, I guess, the nice ones that keep the shoulders perfectly rounded. It's like an old school movie reference. I'm impressed. I'm impressed.
Well,
I didn't even know it.
I'm glad you were there to explain it, because I don't know what it's from.
It's a deep cut.
I think I saw it on the Colbert Report.
Making all of us more cultured. I'm just going to keep steaming along here with news from the last couple of weeks. So still on that topic of software, AI-ish things, Skype. So I don't know if you remember this from, I think it was like December of last year. I think it was right before we took our break.
Okay.
Skype had basically announced this universal translator that you could use. It's a version of Skype where you speak into it in Spanish and wait, and it'll actually translate that and actually have a audio version of that for the person on the other end in their language.
Right.
So they finally released their open beta.
Oh, okay.
I think it was this week, and I think the number of languages is pretty limited. I think it's like French, Spanish, German, English, and I think it includes Klingon.
Klingon?
Yeah.
Do you know anyone that speaks Klingon?
No. Not like, I know people that know snippets of Klingon.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Frank Knight in this office.
That doesn't surprise me.
My dad knows some Klingon. He's a big Star Trek
okay.
fan.
Okay.
I don't think he could hold a conversation in the language. It's weird that Klingon is a full language.
Like, to what degree? I don't know much about
it's
it.
like French. I don't know what you like. It's a language.
Like, there are different like conjugations for verbs and
Yeah.
They actually
different tense.
I don't know if it's actually, I should know this, but I don't recall if it's actually the, Gene Roddenberry and that, group actually created, or if it was like the fans that took it and then created, and then it kind of got picked up.
Interesting.
I mean,
Okay.
I know that it's something that developed over time.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they usually, like the language that like Dothraki speak in Game of Thrones isn't real, but it's like plausibly real.
Okay.
Like they hired linguists to like, figure out, okay, like if you were to invent a fictionalized language, what might it be?
Yeah, I think Tolkien was a linguist too that invented languages for
The Elvish
his
languages
books.
are all real.
Yeah. He actually does have, or did have, that background, so he was actually able to create that from scratch.
That seems like a lot of work.
Yeah.
And then you're going to write a book by him. That's like all the work that it takes to model a tree and then you build a game around it. But no, this is a language.
Well, the fascinating thing about Tolkien and all of his works, related to like Lord of the Rings and that, world, is that they weren't even popular until after he passed away. So he wrote all that stuff, in like, I don't know, was it the 40s or 50s? But it didn't actually gain popularity until the 70s.
Yeah, a bunch of pot smoking hippies.
Yeah, that's actually the running, I guess, story about that.
Yeah.
They read about these hobbits that did nothing but basically smoke weed and eat all day.
Yeah.
So you think we should start a campaign to get Elvish into Skype?
I'm sure it's going to be there. And also, I should correct myself. So the spoken languages that work right now for translation are English, Spanish, Italian, and Mandarin.
Okay.
And but
Mandarin's cool.
There are 50 other languages that work through Instant Messenger, and Klingon is one of those.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So
That's pretty cool.
I'm actually looking forward to trying it. I haven't installed it yet, but
Yeah, so Google Translate has been my go-to for translations for many years now, and it's not very good,
no.
but it works. But they recently updated the iOS app, and by recently I mean in the last 6 months or so that it's like integrating WordLens technology. Do you remember WordLens app?
I was going to ask you guys if you guys knew that one. I love that app. It's not perfect, but it's helpful in a pinch.
Yeah. So the WordLens was an app where you could point your iPhone camera at some text that was in a different language, and it would translate
Android as well.
It would not only tell you what the words were that you were pointing it at, but it would actually like try to recreate the sign using the same type of font, but just in your native language.
Yeah,
It's really cool.
It's one of those pieces of tech that just felt like magic.
Yeah, it was really cool.
If it worked, when it worked.
Well, but the big problem was that the free version of it was pretty limited in support, and it was fairly you had to pay for it to get other functionality. They've actually integrated that into the Google Translate app. I haven't really found a use for it because I don't leave San Francisco very often, but that's interesting.
At the time it came out, or first came out, a coworker at that time took a trip down to Brazil, and he said that it didn't work all the time, but in a pinch it was useful to at least figure out, I guess, where the bathroom was.
Right, like
that sort of thing.
I'm sure it's enough. It's like good enough to know what you need to know. It's not good enough to read a novel, but it's good enough to find your way around something.
And sometimes it literally translates it, so it's awkward trying to figure out. But that's no different than using Google Translate.
Right.
So I am going to keep moving along. Also, I'm a little bit sorry about the low energy. I'm mostly trying not to pass out here.
Yeah.
I'm heavily medicated right now.
Oh, wow.
You're
Not
toughing it out.
legal drugs, guys. Legal.
This will be a different podcast.
So
It's cloudy.
for me, it's very Microsoft focused this week, unfortunately, but not unfortunately, but I do like to be a bit more diverse typically.
Biased.
I know. Paying me the big bucks of $0. Windows 10 news, which is not, I guess, super huge news, but it was more of like a marketing thing that came out. I believe it was this week, where Microsoft said, hey, Windows 10 is going to be the last version of Windows. And whereas everyone's buzzing about this, but in essence, what they're saying is is that Windows 10 is just going to be put out there. They're going to keep treating it as they keep saying a service. So they're going to release continual updates and improvements and features.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's basically how they're going to handle the naming. And Windows isn't going away, is what they said. But as someone pointed out, that's no different than OS 10. I mean, we've been on OS 10 since what, 2001?
Something like that.
It's
yeah.
been a long time.
Yeah, I mean, it's a similar thing. You can also look at Photoshop, right? There used to be a new version of Photoshop every year, but then they switched to Creative Cloud, and now there's just the Creative Cloud version, which gets updated constantly.
Yeah, so I think that's just the new thing. So for everybody who was initially concerned about it, I don't think there's really anything to be concerned about. And two, I think that this is just the way things are going.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing to say, because saying this is the last version of Windows or this is the last version of anything can imply things that they don't mean, right? Like that they're already planning for something in the future that's not Windows. It kind of implies that, which
Right.
I don't think they are.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't read it that way. I read it as very much like a marketing, like, of course they're still going to iterate on Windows just as much as they did before, but they're going to follow more of like the Mac model of just incremental changes on a more regular basis.
I do think, though, I will miss having some kind of marker for, knowing when like something
change.
significant has come out. And
Sure.
I do like that about OS 10, where they'll actually say, okay, well, this year is Mavericks, or this year is Yosemite. So you have an idea of, oh, okay, I should get on that, or I should upgrade, or maybe I don't want this new feature after reading about it, as opposed to, I mean, for example, with Xbox One, you get a dashboard update, and you kind of have to accept it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I feel like things are going to work the way you want them to. So, although that might be specific to Xbox One, your opinion on that may vary.
Yeah, I mean, I guess to that point, it probably does make it a little bit easier for Microsoft in terms of support, right? They don't have to worry about supporting Windows 8 or let's say Windows 11, 12, and 13, because whatever, they just have this Windows 10, and you have to have the most updated version of it, and they're probably just not going to be supporting old version.
That's true. Speaking of versions, there's supposed to be 7 editions of Windows 10, which I thought was interesting.
7 editions. So
And-
like for different platforms?
For different use cases.
Yeah, I was going to
Okay.
say, they always do. I mean, they got made fun of hugely for this with Windows 9 as well, with the Home, and then Home Professional, and Professional, and Professional Home, and Professional
Or
Pro.
like
and,
Vista.
I mean, they've
Vista
always...
was really the one where it really got kind of confusing.
Yeah.
Penny Arcade did an excellent comic about that.
Oh, yeah? I'll have to check
Yeah,
that out.
I mean, it kind of spoils the comic, but essentially the punchline was, "What's that version over there? That's Windows 8. Yeah, I don't want that one."
Aw.
So
Womp womp.
Well, they also, it's a little bit misleading. Like, there's been a billion versions of previous Windows as well that people sort of gave Microsoft a hard time for, just like I was just giving them a hard time. But the number was sort of artificially inflated by there being 32-bit and 64-bit versions. And
Oh,
like,
gotcha.
Just, I don't know.
Yeah.
They'd be like, there are 38 different versions of Windows. I'm like, well, kind of, but like, I don't know. Like, they all have their weird sort of specific edge cases for why you might want one or another. And sometimes they're like the same thing, but just included like different levels of like support.
Yeah, I mean, for a long time in the console games market, like we were very used to there being one console SKU, right? There was the console with a controller, and that was the
Yep.
SKU.
That was it.
And then I feel like Xbox 360 maybe was like one of the first ones that started making a bunch of different SKUs. There's different sizes. There's one with a hard drive, one without a hard drive, one with a bigger hard drive, one with a bigger hard drive and a game, one with 2 games.
Yeah.
And then now
They
that's
were
just the
bundling
norm.
games a long time before that, but like actually changing the hardware configuration itself. Sure.
Like, it got to the point where like if I go on Amazon, I don't know that I could look up the base price of an Xbox 360 or whatever.
Right.
I don't know what the base price is because there are
it's
20 different
it's
SKUs.
based on the model. It's
Yeah.
like cars, right? So
Sure.
you go to the lot, and then you have a Corolla CE, and you have a Corolla like LE, and then you have the like sport version, and then so based on each of those, I guess, packages, then you have different customizable options that then influence your price.
It's like the Apple Watch.
It's
Oh
like,
boy.
Apple pioneered things once again.
See what you did there.
Nah.
Well, and anyway, if you saw that news and you're wondering just what the deal is, essentially, if you're a home user, you only have 3 different versions that will probably affect your life, potentially. And most likely, or you'll be choosing from at least one of 2 of those. And those are Windows 10 Home, Windows 10 Pro, and then Windows 10, or I guess it's just Windows Mobile, Windows 10 Mobile.
Okay.
I forget the official name at the moment, unfortunately. And the last one only applies if you're thinking of using Windows as a mobile phone platform. Like if you're thinking of using it for some of the kind of neat stuff that we saw at Build, which was being able to plug your Windows phone into a monitor and and have it hooked up to like a Bluetooth keyboard mouse and use it like a portable PC.
That's pretty cool.
So it's enough to make me actually consider switching from Android. Almost. It all boils down to that app support, you know, because Windows, Windows just has not had really that same amount of support from third-party developers. You can't really get the same kind of apps that you can on Google Play or the App Store for iOS.
Sure. They could get there. I mean, they probably played it up at Build. I actually didn't watch the Build conference, but they're definitely playing up the fact that you can develop for one platform and easily, you know, if you made a desktop application, you can easily make it work on your mobile phone or even Xbox.
Yeah, supposedly.
Well, they talked about that at
Allegedly.
Build. And we actually talked about it some on this show, which was that they're making it easier for developers of iOS and Android apps to take those apps and just kind of move them over to Windows without having to completely reprogram them from scratch. So if that takes off, then there's less of a concern about, you know, this one app that I use to, say, back up my text messages on Android, or I don't know, do you guys even have that on iOS? I've never checked.
Back up your text messages?
Why would I want to do that? I want to do the opposite of that.
You just want to delete them all?
Yeah.
Do you really?
Just Snapchat everything?
Yeah.
What are you sending?
What do I send? Don't worry about it.
Just gonna put you on the spot right there.
No, I just send the poop emoji all the time. And depending on like the time of day you send it and how many, it has many different contexts.
Oh, so it's like an interpretive language then.
Yeah.
Is the poop emoji in your your most used tray?
I don't know.
Oh boy. They're whipping their phones out.
I can tell you with certainty that it is in mine.
It is or isn't?
Oh, absolutely it is.
What are you guys doing?
Look at that. See?
That's the first thing, right?
These are my most used. It's on the second row of my most used.
My most.
Why is there a gun emoji next to a face that looks really scared?
You know, it's
Was
fun.
that
The funny thing
perfectly
is, I
done?
don't know if I've ever used that gun emoji. So or the 8 or the 7. I don't know why those are there either.
Mine is this totally sounds like me. It's the smiley face with the sunglasses. It's like cool.
Of course, yeah.
And then the flames, just the fire, then the thumbs up, and then the American flag.
Very patriotic of you.
Yeah.
Do you remember the game we used to play where you would look at your most recent searches in iOS?
Oh, God, yes.
I don't know if iOS even does it anymore. I'm
Well,
tapping into my...
I switched to Google Chrome,
Oh, okay.
so I don't know if it does recent searches. How did you even get there? How did that work?
I think you just tapped into the URL bar, and now it's not showing me anything.
Oh, that's a bummer.
That was a fun game.
That was a fun game. One of mine was
Just
just...
risky.
One of my searches was just eyes.
Just I.
I'm like, what?
You know, honestly, the riskiest thing you can do is on like a third or fourth date, borrow somebody's phone because yours is dead and try to do a search, because
Oh yeah.
if they're like most people, they don't clear their search history,
Right.
And there are things you will learn about them that you probably don't want to know on a third or fourth date. You're like, I was just starting to get to know you. You seem really nice, but I gotta go home.
Did this happen recently?
No,
Oh.
but it did happen. So.
Do you want to share more?
What
No.
to
Oh my god, I'm so curious.
what to do about an itchy butt? I'm like, well,
That is the other fun game, is to go into just google.com and
How
start
to.
typing in how to, and see like what it autofills it.
did you see the
Like why is, and then just all the things that people are searching for.
Oh man.
did you see that Google autocomplete Family Feud, Google Feud.
I think we played it together.
Oh yeah, that's right. We did sit around and
I was
play
really
it.
bad at it.
Yeah, it turned out to be really hard. The top result, guess the top 2 result for how to blank.
Oh, how to
Are they
chocolate chip cookies.
family friendly or are they not family friendly?
They're safe for work.
Oh,
I mean, I don't think Google, they actually changed it so that autocompletes aren't not safe for work anymore.
Oh, interesting.
They don't want to recommend you pornography. And like if you start typing swear words, it just stops.
It's just like, nah, I know, I see what you're doing. I don't want any part with this.
Yeah, that's right. I'll still take you to results, but I'm not gonna
I'm not helping
gonna
you.
steer you in
I'm
a
not holding
specific
your hand.
direction.
You know, I have to say that's one of the frustrations I have with the keyboard that I'm using on my Google phone, on my Android phone, is that I will drop F-bombs regularly in text to friends, but it won't remember how to spell it. It always changes it to like ducking.
Yeah,
Oh.
a lot of ducking has been sent in texts. The top result for how to is
Tie a tie?
how to tie a tie,
Really?
which is unsurprising to me. I look it up every time I tie a tie. I Google tie a tie. I actually go to tieatie.net.
There's a
You guys
website.
just don't have like a
Yeah.
YouTube video bookmarked?
I mean, I have that website bookmarked, and I knew I've actually
You trust them even though they have a .net address?
Oh, yeah, I've been using it for years.
It's a .net address, dude.
It's fine. What do you mean? Do I trust them? Like
They
either
can't
the
be
tie
trusted?
comes out fine, and like I don't even like I have tangible proof that they've given me legitimate advice.
A .net address is totally illegitimate.
Do you do the half Windsor?
You know, it's been a while since I've tied a tie. I think I actually prefer the full Windsor, but you have to have a long tie for it. Otherwise, it ends up with a shorter tie, and then you could end up with a situation where you got your tie up here.
Yeah, you end up with like a Dick Tracy sort of weirdo cartoon tie.
Yeah, so for me, it depends on the length of the tie.
Yeah, I do the half Windsor, but I'm more of like a casual guy to begin with, so I feel like that's a more casual knot.
What?
It's weird to me that there's degrees of casuality or whatever.
Yeah, there totally is.
Okay, you guys have to define for me what's the basic knot referred to?
Half Windsor,
Windsor.
probably.
Okay, so that's your standard kind of triangle looking
Well,
knot.
the full Windsor's triangular as well, but the half Windsor is a smaller knot.
It's a smaller knot, and it's a little lopsided, I guess. It's like bigger
It
on one
is.
side than the other.
It's hard to get the tie completely straight.
Yeah. Whereas the full Windsor is just like,
Fucking
it's beautiful.
Bam.
It's beautiful.
Right there. It is, but it's
More
too
work.
much. It's too much.
It makes it like puffier. Yeah, it takes
Yeah.
up more space.
I don't need to
It's
like
more
I would
against-
do a full Windsor and probably did on like my wedding day.
Yeah.
But if I'm going to someone else's wedding, I'm gonna sit in the back. No one cares about me. I'm just some guy at a wedding.
Yep.
Yeah, half Windsor for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, that actually brings up a really interesting question to me. So what has technology helped you figure out? Like,
Nothing.
what's like the most important thing besides tying a tie?
I don't know, man. It's ingrained in like my whole life.
Yeah. I learn everything from technology, the internet.
What's the alternative? A book? Can you imagine using the card catalog?
Some kids go to college.
Oh, that's true. Well, not
I don't
me.
know, man. I was on the anime podcast earlier this week, and we were talking, and I brought up I still can't remember how to pronounce.
Fish.
Is it fish or fish?
I would say fish.
Sheesh.
Yeah, it sounds fancier, right? So I brought up microfiche, and Miranda didn't know what it was.
She's pretty young.
I know, but it was just astonishing to me that there is a generation out there that actually no longer knows what that is.
Yeah.
I've
need
never
to.
used it.
But I mean, you grew up knowing what it was, though, right?
There's a really funny delineation between television shows from like the 90s because you'll see them like the perfect example. The example I'm thinking of is X-Files. Like when X-Files started to where X-Files ended was like in the beginning they're spending like half the episode in the library looking up old, just old newspaper articles and clippings from like, well, here's something from 1892. And now, but then it changes, right? Like there's a clear line that you can draw between like when these television writers had like figured out the internet and when they hadn't, or when it was like a thing and when it wasn't. That's my theory about there's a line in real life too. Like I'm right on the generation that remembers the time before the internet.
Right.
But if you're like 5
Right.
years younger, you never didn't have the internet.
Yeah, that would say that.
I had the internet when
Bears out.
I had regular access to the internet when I was probably 12 or 13.
Yeah, it's about the same for me.
about
I
the
think
same
I
age.
was, let's see. Yeah, say about 12 or 13. And we had dial-up, of course.
Oh yeah.
And it took up the phone line.
Yeah.
And initially it was a long distance call for me, so I might have
Really?
rung up a multi-$100 phone bill one month.
Because that's also when long distance is still expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even the idea of long distance is so crazy.
Right?
What did someone say the other day that really blew my mind? Oh, it was that before cell phones, the question "Where are you?" made no sense.
What do you mean?
In what context would you ever ask anybody that?
Where
That's
are
not
you?
true.
Yeah.
No, you could still ask because they could be calling you from their grandmother's house versus, from their normal house or their work or something.
Well,
so you
before
would still
phones,
ask.
then. Let's put it that way.
So you're saying if
before
if
the
you were talking to
1800s?
someone on the phone, you knew where they were because that's where the phone was.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
The phone didn't go anywhere.
Right. That's interesting.
It's true. You couldn't really be outside as often unless you're at a payphone.
Cordless phones.
Yeah, car phones.
Man.
Technology, I don't know. I mean, it's ingrained in. I'm never not looking at screens, I realized, which is pretty weird.
Mm-hmm.
It's really bad. It's pretty awful. Like, especially if it's like a busy period at work, which it has been for me for several weeks, where it's like I'm really like intensely focusing on my work all day. And then I go home and play with my daughter a little bit, and my wife and I have dinner. But then we probably watch a show, and then she goes to bed, and I browse the internet, and then I watch a show, and then I go to bed. And I'm like, holy shit, I have been awake for, however many hours, 18 hours, and I looked at a screen for like 16 and a half of those 18 hours.
Yeah.
That's really messed up. And like, there's no way to like put a stop. That's just like, it's never going to change.
Do you follow the recommendations and every 30 minutes you like look out a window and stare at a mountain?
No, I never look out the window.
Stare at a mountain.
Do you
No.
wear glasses? You don't, right?
No, but I need to. My eyesight's really fuzzy and bad.
Really?
Yeah, it's awful.
Everyone looks better, though, I imagine.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I don't have any frame of reference. I'm going to put on glasses and leaves. I'm going to be able to see leaves on trees. Not just going to be green blobs.
Oh. Yeah. That would be glasses range.
I can't read road signs until they're like zipping right by me.
Wait, you drive like that?
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
I mean, I know where I'm going. I don't drive anywhere. I don't like to drive places that I haven't been to before. I make my wife do it.
Why? Because you can't see? Is that literally the reason?
Well,
That's pretty bad.
I have anxiety about that in general outside of like my eyesight. I don't like to like GPS has been like a lifesaver for me because I have a bad internal sense of direction. I get turned around easily. I get lost easily. Then I get flustered and I often have to like pull over into parking lots and like just get it together.
Okay. If we ever need to go anywhere, I'll drive you.
Yeah. I'm also just unwilling. Like my wife's much more willing to be like, well, I know generally it's over there. So I'll just make some turns, and we'll get where we're going. And like that freaks me out. Like I can't do it. I need to like know the route. And so even places that I know, like I can get to the grocery store, I can get to work, but I don't have it like in my head. I only know it by rote memory. Like I only know I go to this road, I go to that road, I go to this road. I don't know like how they connect, or I'm not even always completely sure what direction I'm going.
If you had a
true.
blank map of San Francisco, would you be able to put dots in roughly in the right positions?
Roughly. This is true though. For like a year, I thought our grocery store was to the west of our house, but it's actually north of our house, and I didn't know that. I'm like, wait, what neighborhood are we in? And I'm like, no, but that's north of us. And my wife looked at me like I was an idiot, which I might be.
You want to hear something that will blow your mind?
What?
Lake Tahoe is west of Los Angeles.
What?
Yeah. Thanks,
what?
Snapple.
Yeah, I believe that. What is it? Isn't it Las Vegas is further west than Los Angeles or something like that?
Probably not, no.
Or than San Diego or something. There's some way that stat works.
Maybe.
San Diego, I would believe, because I think
don't know.
San Diego is actually pretty centered.
Yeah,
Like-
Las Vegas is further west than LA.
What?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
For everybody listening and watching, this is us
We're now-
demonstrating our very, very poor knowledge of California
I'm not
geography.
demonstrating. Maybe Mark Ryan's demonstrating his poor knowledge.
Yeah,
The
it's
native
not-
Californians are just demonstrating their lack of California geography. There we go. So sad.
Yeah, that's not true.
Shit. Well, there's something like that. Maybe it's San Diego.
No, that's not true either. I mean, that's close though, but
Are you sure?
I mean, No, but I'm looking at a map, so.
All right.
But the Lake Tahoe thing is true.
Well, it was the little that was left of my brain from this week is gone now.
Oh, maybe
Thanks,
it was
Mark Ryan.
Reno. Reno is further west than Los Angeles.
Yeah.
I would
That's what
believe.
I was thinking
I mean,
of.
that's really close to
Tahoe.
Yeah.
Tahoe.
Yeah. There you go. We solved the mystery. We Nancy Drew'd it.
Everything is fixed.
We made it to the end of Friday.
We made it to the Friday.
It's not the end yet.
I mean, it's pretty much the end. There's so little time that you could go back to your desk, like goof around on Reddit for a little bit, like open up a spreadsheet and click it back and forth a couple times, that you could make it to the end of the day without having to think.
Mark Ryan on productivity at IGN, everybody.
Yeah, but like I can't. The thing is, it's first of all, it's never not a busy period at work for me anymore. But it's like I need to spend. It's like the hardest thing on planet Earth. It's like 4 p.m. on a Friday, managing to be productive until like 5 p.m. But I just have to, otherwise I pay for it on Monday.
Mm-hmm.
Crap, I gotta do.
That sounds like a mixed martial art.
Crap, I gotta do.
Crap I gotta do, like Krav Maga.
Yeah.
Capoeira. Something to that effect.
Something, yeah.
Did we do it?
Yeah.
Is it over?
We talked about tech, so we finally did it after 2 weeks. It's amazing.
Now Elena's gonna go collapse.
Yeah. So anyway, I do want to say thank you to all our fans who keep listening week after week, who are actually, disappointed when we're not able to put out an episode. Really appreciate that. As always, send us your questions, comments. I have a couple of emails that I still need to get back to, so thank you for your patience. I'm sorry that I was almost dying this week. You can reach us at techfetish@ign.com. We also have really awesome Facebook and Google Plus groups. People are super nice. I was able to answer questions for each other, that sort of thing. And we're obviously on Twitter because that's where we spend most of our day with the cat gifs and whatnot. Or that's me. I am at Morphing Ball.
I am at Error Justin, ERROR Justin.
I am MR Salee, 2 L's and 2 E's. I'm going to start paying attention to your cat gifs more often.
They're the best. I have some very good sources for that.
Okay.
Mitch sent me the other week a link for a kitten live stream.
Kitten live stream?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just cats sleeping
Miranda's have it
all
up.
day.
She has it up on her screen almost every day. It's baby kittens, and sometimes the mom comes in and like flops.
Oh,
and then
she
they
has
all,
it up every day?
Then they nurse.
Yeah. And it's great because they actually have, it's like DVR too, so you have like 3 hours worth of footage. So if they're not doing anything interesting at that moment, you can kind of like scrub back back a little bit and see if
okay.
like they got up and like stretched and like piled on top of each other in a different cute way.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's what the internet was for.
Yeah, that's the best application of tech. This is how tech has improved my life, guys.
Yeah.
Thanks, Al Gore.
Anyway, that's it for this week. We will catch you guys next week.